Hey guys, Alf here. Today I wanted to talk about Star Wars: The Last Jedi, which I went to go see on Christmas Eve, so it had been out for a bit already, and I've been seeing a lot of people talking about it on Twitter, lots of articles, people saying that it sucked, uh, people talking all this stuff, they didn't like this, they didn't like that, and saying that, some people fucking completely hated the movie. Some people I heard say it was a good movie, but not a good Star Wars movie, and then some people loved it. And I happen to be one of the people who loved it. I thought the movie was incredibly fun. I enjoyed it very much. There was no point in the movie where, well, I can't say there was no point in the movie. I had some gripes here and there, but overall, the movie's fantastic. I enjoyed it very much. It's completely entertaining. There was no part where there was really no point where I wasn't entertained. At least, even if I had gripes with parts, I was still entertained by it. Even the things I had a gripe with were really small. Um, Sometimes it was like because of my own expectations, because I like Star Wars a certain way, or I wanted to see the story go in a certain way. That's not the movie's fault. That's my own fault, and I can't blame the movie for that. Even though I personally think those things would be better. Other things are just so small that it didn't ruin the movie. I can look past that and be like, whatever. Um, One major thing I disliked, which is the same thing I dislike. Oh, well, let me start by saying that I liked Force Awakens. I don't. If somebody didn't like Force Awakens, then I can understand why they don't like this, because it's a sequel to that. It's gonna be similar. But yeah, one thing I hated in this, which I also hated in Force Awakens, is the Hux. Not the character, the actor. The character, I understand you're supposed to dislike him. That's kind of the point. He's an asshole. Nobody's gonna like him. But the actor is terrible, man. That guy hams it up so bad. His acting is so exaggerated. I can't stand it. Every time he had a scene and you see him up there, I was just sitting there like, oh God, really? I don't know what it is, but if I was the director, I would make him film those scenes more until he got it right, because his acting was just so bad. Um, yeah, but the character, you're meant to not like him, so I can't really say that. He does, the character is written well. You do dislike him. Um, all the other characters I liked. I mean, even from Force Awakens, I really liked Kylo Ren. There's I remember from Force Awakens, there was a huge discussion. A lot of people didn't like Kylo Ren. They thought he was like a pussy, that he was always like, throwing tantrums and stuff. I like that about him, and I think that's what makes him very interesting in terms of the dark side, because the dark side works through emotions. So the more emotional you are, the more you fall into the dark side, and the more powerful you can use the dark side. Whereas the good side of the force is used through focus and on clearness of mind. The dark side of the force is used through the chaoticness of mind. It works through emotions. And it doesn't always have to be the same emotion. It could be different emotions. It could work through love. It could work through hate. It could work through anger. Well, I mean, I guess it works through love because of the chaoticness of love, depression and stuff like that, and breaking up or something, or passion. In a way, the dark side feeds on these emotions, and Kylo Ren has a lot of emotion. He's super emotional, which only makes sense for a dark side character, and I think it's great. I always, like, even before this movie, I used to wonder why they never made a character like that, like why there wasn't somebody in the dark side of the force who just fucking flips out all the time, or when they're stressed out, fucking completely rages, the only ones, yeah, like Darth Vader, he was very calm, but I guess that's what comes from him starting off as a Jedi, already learning that calmness, but he was still too emotional and couldn't completely be focused. So when he fell to the dark side, he still understands of the aspect of focusing, So, but he was always very calm, and you don't see him flip out much. I don't have the Emperor too. He would make like angry faces, but he never was really. He was always kind of collected. He never seemed to flip out either. So I always wondered that with the dark side, and I think it totally makes sense. I think Kylo Ren is a super interesting character. I like that character. The actor, he's not bad. He's okay. It's kind of weird looking, but whatever. Goes well with Star Wars, right? Because they're all really aliens and shit. Um, who else did I like? Ray. Ray wasn't even, to be honest, Ray wasn't even a big part of this movie. I don't dislike or like that. We see part of her journey and learning, but she, kind of like Empire Strikes Back, where Luke was going through training and stuff like that, and a little beef at the end. That kind of happens here too, and I'm alright with that. I didn't dislike or like Ray in this. Who else was there? Luke Skywalker. As a fan of Star Wars for over 30 years, I mean, Star Wars, the first New Hope came out 2 years before I was born. I practically was raised on Star Wars, right? My mom was a fan of the movie. My dad was a fan. My brother, my older brother. So in the end, it's tons of Star Wars. I watched it all since I was probably old enough to remember, and even before that. So Luke Skywalker has always been my favorite character. I love the Jedis. Jedis are my favorite characters. So anytime there's a Jedi in a movie, that'll probably be my favorite character in the movie. So, but Luke Skywalker overall was my favorite. I always liked it. I always liked him because I liked to watch his growth. He started off as this childish kid, growing up in a farm, isolated. He didn't know anything about the world except through like legends and history and shit. But and then you watch him grow to be, by the Return of the Jedi, this badass and shit that's, mad cool, calm, and collected, whooping ass. Fucking great. Awesome. I always want to see more of this character. So they brought him back for this movie, which also leads to, I can get into another gripe now, which is like my own expectations and why that bothers me, is like this movie started off right where the last movie left off, at least in terms of Rey and Luke, meeting each other, right? The movie ended with her walking up and giving him the lightsaber. In this movie, when we get to their scene, it starts right there with her handing him the lightsaber. And I'll explain why I don't like this, because all Star Wars movies the whole time has always been time having passed between movies, right? It's usually like 3 years or something. You'll start off and these people meet, and then the next movie it'll be like, they're in the middle of a war, already been, working together and fighting for years, and that's usually what happens in Star Wars movies. And I would have liked to seen them continue that, because I think that there's certain things that are very Star Wars that should stay, But again, like I said, it wasn't big enough to completely ruin the film for me. It was still a great movie. So I've been a Star Wars fan for my entire life.
Nerd alert.
New Hope came out 2 years before I was born, less than 2 years before I was born, and I've been watching my whole life. My family's fans, my family are fans of the movie, so I grew up watching it my entire life. And my favorite character has always been Luke Skywalker. And growing up, with everybody, it's always been Han Solo or like Boba Fett or something. For me, it's always been, I said Boba Fett, Boba Fett. But for me, it's always been Luke Skywalker. I love the Jedis. I love the concept of the Jedi. And I also, one of my favorite things about Luke Skywalker through the original saga was that I loved watching him grow as a character. He started off being this farm boy with no idea, with no concept of the world outside of where he was living in. He only through like history and mythologies, legends and shit. And eventually grows to be this really cool badass character that's all calm and collected, not over emotional and childish like he was at the beginning. Really cool. I always enjoyed that. And Jedis kick ass. They're awesome. But in this movie, he was not what I expected, which is fine. Actually, it's kind of cool, because I totally wasn't expecting his character to be the way they portrayed him in the film. But I enjoyed it. It was interesting. He was at a state where he was basically depressed and had given up on being a Jedi because of what happened with Kylo Ren and the students, which was cool. You know what I'm saying? He let down his sister, really. That was hurt, and it's his nephew. I'm sure he loved his nephew, and he felt like he let them down by letting him fall to the dark side, which was awesome. It just made the character very interesting and showed his growth. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, he grew from being this farm boy to this kick-ass Jedi to being kind of a broken man, because of some tragedy. And Luke was always very impulsive. He started his training late, and what he really needed to train in was focus. That's really what Yoda was trying to train him in. But he was so emotional and impulsive that he wouldn't fully listen, and he'd fuck things up. And as you see, he's still that person. He learned to calm himself and became a good Jedi, but a tragedy knocked him back into being this emotional character, and in turn he stopped using the Force. I like that very much. I'm sure a lot of people hate the way he went out. And since he's my favorite character, I really wanted to see him do something crazy and kick ass, like fucking check out his fucking skills and shit and see him do some awesome stuff. Cause he, at that, after all this time, he had to have been pretty powerful. And he did show us how powerful he was, just not in a very exciting way. He projected himself, but if you think about it, it's extremely powerful, because not only did he project his image across, from the planet he was on, but he projected it to another planet. The planet he was on was an isolated planet, far, deep in the outer rims of the galaxy, probably. And and he projected it pretty much across the galaxy, right? You can think about it, or at least a good chunk of the galaxy, to another planet far away that you gotta like super warp to and shit at fucking light speed and shit. So that's fucking awesome. But in the end, it's just not very exciting. You know what I'm saying? You would prefer to see him do some epic sword fight or use his powers to like, blast mad people far away and shit like they would do in like Obi-Wan in the prequels. He was awesome in the prequels. But yeah, but he went out at the end. He ends up going out by disappearing, just like Obi-Wan did, which I like because I feel Star Wars should have a cyclical nature, and it kind of does in some aspects, and that's cool. But I like that he did that. It's it's the whole Obi-Wan, like, if you strike me down, I will become more powerful than you could possibly imagine. And that's basically what Luke's doing. He's going to help Rey through the way Obi-Wan helped him, and that's probably the best way to do it. And they know that, and that's why they do it. So, yeah, I like that. Who else was Finn? I liked him as much as I did in the first movie. He's a cool character. I dig him. Poe had some growth in this movie too. Wasn't like my favorite part of the movie, but it wasn't bad. I'll say that much. It didn't bother me. Another thing that really bothered me, probably the worst thing in this movie to me, is the whole Yoda scene, the Yoda and Luke scene. What the fuck was that? Yoda was made so corny, right? Like, his character was so corny. Look, this is how I understand Yoda. When Luke meets Yoda in the Dagobah system, that's how Yoda was acting. He was acting like this, like he was a dumb creature, just, what's this, and fucking tapping shit, fighting with fucking R2 and doing goofy shit, stealing his food and stuff. But that was a trick. I feel like he was tricking Luke to see if he can discover who he is, see how, and testing his force and his ability, just normal ability and cognitive skills, But Luke kind of failed that, so Yoda had to change his tactic, and revealed who he was, right? But once he did, that's when he acted like who he is. You know what I'm saying? He was calm, he was cool, and that's who that character was. He wasn't goofy like that. But then you get to him in this movie, and they made him so goofy. They made him like the character he was when Luke first met him, which was a character he was playing. It wasn't really him. So why would his Force spirit just start acting like that now, just to talk to Luke, who already knows who he is and has known him? He knows his personality. It's really strange. That scene just was bad. Though I understood the concept they were getting at burning the books, like telling Luke, like, yeah, let's end this order. We need to start a new Jedi order, basically, which is cool. That's what I want. I always thought Luke should start a new Jedi order. I figured he would, right? Like, but he didn't. He was actually preserving the old one and holding on to that, so he had to let that go. And the Jedi, in order to begin anew, the Jedi had to let go, right? And he was the last of the Jedi, so Jedis as a whole and himself had to let go of the old order to create a new. And yeah, that's what this is. It makes sense, and it's a cool concept. But the scene went by fucking shittily, man. Fucking how corny was Yoda. Damn, that really disappointed me there. But again, didn't ruin the movie. It wasn't a large scene. I just could have done without that scene, or had that scene been done better. Who else? Leia, man, sad she died. You can kind of see it in this movie. Like, she didn't seem totally well in this movie. She was really shaky. Her voice sounded fucked up. So I guess, it was kind of sad to see that. But the character was cool. A lot of the stuff she goes through is cool. She's Princess Leia. Oh, a lot of people hated the scene of her floating through space and using the Force to come back into it. Dude, I was pumped when I saw that. That was fucking awesome. I've been dying, like, waiting 30 plus years for fucking Leia to use the Force, and that fucking pleased me very much, man. I love that shit. I don't know why people didn't like that. I thought it was awesome. Maybe they thought it was dumb or didn't think it was feasible. Who cares? It's a great scene. You know what I'm saying? It was done like in slow-mo, and she's just pulled up her hand and started using the Force to get herself back in the ship. Fucking awesome. It's a great scene. So I hear other people complaining about stuff, and a lot of the complaints are like SJW stuff, and they're talking about diversity and this and that. Honestly, movies can be diverse. That doesn't bother me. It's when it's like forced in the sense of like in the plot. If you're worried more about diversity than writing a good story, that's gonna come out in your story. You know what I'm saying? And you're gonna and people viewing it are gonna feel that. You know what I'm saying? And the story's gonna be shitty. So They didn't do that with this. The story was written probably, and then they casted the people for it. And whether they picked diverse people to play it, who cares? In fact, it's Star Wars. It's a galaxy far, far away. You don't think there's gonna be different looking people? Like maybe in the older ones you saw more white people, but who, whatever. It's all right. Um, yeah, there was a lot of diverse characters. Didn't bother me. They didn't force it down your throat. The Asian chick wasn't saying, "Oh, because I look different than you, you're not gonna do this." That wasn't there. And it wasn't like, "Oh, you're dark skinned. You can't do that." So who cares if the characters are diverse? Um, Another thing, yeah. Well, yeah. Let me finish that thought. Is that there really wasn't any SJW concepts. I heard a lot of people say that. In feminist terms, I've heard people say that the men could do no right and the women are powerful and do this. Bullshit. The hero of this movie is Luke Skywalker. It's not even Rey. Rey does some shit. Yeah, she saves the day here and there. But the true hero of this fucking movie is Luke Skywalker. He made himself the legend that people thought he was by the end of this film. And yeah, look at the shit he did, man. Like he fucking put his spirit like miles away, fucking planets and systems away. And they were all like fucking shooting the beams and shit at him, all the lasers, and he just stood there like, it was amazing, man. Then I also heard a complaint that, a really dumb complaint I saw on Twitter was somebody was complaining about Laura Dern's character having purple hair. Like, who cares what her hair color is? Like, you do realize that every single character in the Star Wars universe are aliens, right? It's a galaxy far, far away. There might be species of people with purple hair, or there might be people who dye their hair. Who cares? That's just a ridiculous issue to bring up. I thought her character was cool. Laura Dern's a great actress. I always liked her as an actress. And she had a great fucking scene. That scene where she drove the ship into that other ship, and that cinematography on that scene was fantastic. The editing and shit, it was so good. It was like it got really quiet, like there was dead silence, and it was just all this light of it going through, and it was all like fucking stopped and shit. Oh, it's fucking great. Well done, man. That like kind of like made my heart stop and shit, knocked my fucking socks off. It was great. Yeah, there really wasn't anything else I disliked about the film. It was a bit predictable, which I didn't mind. I think most Star Wars movies are predictable for me. But yeah, I guess the twist was supposed to be at the end. You thought Kylo Ren was gonna turn over to the light side and kill Snoke and basically join with Rey, but it was actually the opposite. And I already saw that coming when there was a scene where they were talking, because they kept talking from a distance, and the scene where they talked and said, one of them, she was saying, "Oh, I see you turning," and he said the same thing. "No, you got it wrong. I see you turning," and I kind of predicted it from there, because I figured they were going to go in that direction where like it's going to look like he turned, but he didn't. And it makes total sense. He took out Snoke and he fucking became the Emperor Supreme, and he's the fucking leader of the New Order now. Totally makes sense. It was cool. After that, I was like, oh yeah, cool. I want to see where he takes it for the next movie. That was also a great scene. The whole fight they had was a cool scene with the little Crimson Guard kind of characters. One more complaint I've heard is about the comedy aspect of it. And, Disney tends to do that. They do put comedy in all their movies. And personally, I think most of the times it works. It doesn't work with everything. But in this film, I can kind of understand there were some parts where I felt the comedy was out of place and maybe wasn't the right fit for that scene. But I think most of the times it did hit and it was good, and it's okay for you to have that in there. There was always comic relief in Star Wars, and yeah, it was done badly in the prequels with Jar Jar Binks, but in the original series, it was pretty much C-3PO, and yeah, that worked. But in this one, they do kind of do the whole Marvel movie comedy thing. But yeah, I didn't mind it so much. There was maybe one or two times that it was out of place, but most of the time it was pretty on. But yeah, besides those little complaints that I have, I thought the movie was fantastic. Those little complaints didn't ruin the film for me. This thing had everything I expect. Maybe not everything I expect from Star Wars, but this thing hit all the right themes and things that I like about Star Wars. Cool characters, good, well-written characters, good plot, interesting story, 100% in fucking entertaining and fun, and a great adventure, the sceneries were cool. They visited exotic planets. The whole casino scene, that was really cool. That whole planet The whole scenes, all the scenes in that planet was cool. Oh, Phasma, I didn't touch on Phasma. She's kind of a popular character, and it's strange they killed her off so quickly. I thought that scene was cool. That little fight was awesome, but it happened so fast, and they just seemed to kill her off again. But she might survive, right? And so we'll see. Maybe there's a bunch of her. Maybe she's like a clone army of herself, like Boba Fett and shit. They kind of treat her like Boba Fett. If you think about it, maybe she is dead, maybe, because that's kind of how Boba Fett was in the original. He was really a popular character even before he appeared in the movies, and because of the Christmas special. But he didn't have a big role in the movies. You know, he has very little screen time, and he ends up dying. Maybe, but yeah, they kind of treated Phasma the same way too, and she's kind of a popular character who didn't get much screen time in the movies and was kind of popular before the movies even came out. So kind of treated her the same. We'll see if she returns though. She seems to not die very easy, but yeah, all in all, movie's fantastic. It hits all the right themes, man. Even the different like alien creatures and aliens, and it was all awesome, man. I can't like I could think of ways of making it better, but I was extremely happy with this movie, as I was at Force Awakens, and I think this one's even better. It was really exciting. So, really, if you guys have any complaints that I didn't hit and would like to see me talk about it, maybe I'll make another video. Let me know what you think of this video, or anything you think I should have talked about, you know, or any questions, any comments, you know, leave them below. Let me know. And, yeah, go see this movie if you haven't. But you're probably not watching this because it's full of spoilers and shit. And I suggest you, I guess it's too late to suggest you not watch it. But yeah, yeah, I guess I'm out, man. Thanks for watching. Peace.